Check, check.
Peace, family. Welcome to another episode, Underground Railroad Productions. This is Black Magic with the Blue Pill. Still out here in Brooklyn in front of them. Let me show them the artwork. This is, you said Clinton Hills or Bed-Stuy, Blue?
This is the border between Clinton Hill and Bed-Stuy. It actually begins right up the block at Putnam. You know what I'm saying? So this would technically be Clinton Hill right there. As you can see, that's St. James Place. That's where Biggie Smalls actually lived, down this block, around this corner, between St. James, between Gates and Green. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, you know, this is his hood, nonetheless.
Right. Okay. Well, let's start the interview.
Yes.
You know, you're known for coming on my show, and we deal with a lot of metaphysical topics. We deal with a lot of spiritual topics. You the 44 God. You know, you deal with the law of 44. We deal with things that people aren't traditionally used to in mainstream media or in the school system.
At all. You're not going to find this.
So, you know, this is 2017. People are getting into a lot of different things because of the internet. I want to ask you about this interview that Jim Carrey gave. And I kind of want to use that as another opportunity just to talk to people who may not be used to what you're talking about. They may think you're a space cadet. They may see your piece and think you're totally pseudo. You're totally out there. You totally have lost your mind. You know what I'm saying? So, Jim Carrey recently gave an interview on E! He had a red carpet interview with the network E! And some of the things he said is that there is no me. There are just things happening. Here's the thing. It's not our world. We don't matter. There's the good news. So the interviewer was kind of perplexed by what he said. And they asked him, well, why did you come here? He said, I wanted to find the most meaningless thing I could come to and join. And here I am. I mean, you've got to admit it's completely meaningless. He was then told the event that they were celebrating icons, and he said, I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there's a wonderful fragrance in the air. I don't believe in icons. I believe that peace lies between personality, beyond invention in the skies, beyond the red S that you wear on your chest that makes bullets bounce off. So they said, you got dressed up for the event, Jim Carrey. What about that? He said, no, I didn't get dressed up. Who did? They said. There is no me. There are just things happening. Here's the thing. It's not our world. We don't matter. There's the good news. So I'm going to end it there. Blue, if you met a girl down the block and you started talking to her like this, most likely she's going to turn around and walk the other way.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out who's crazy in this world, the people who think this is crazy or the people who don't think this is crazy. And talk to me about this whole idea of metaphysics and what, you know, this new Age of Aquarius that we coming into where people are interested in this type of discussion.
Well, first and foremost, Jim Carrey has many of an eccentric moments on the red carpet. This is not his first time. I've heard him say quite some more interesting things on the red carpet before, you know, that allude to the fact that he dips and dabbles into metaphysics. I was trying to follow his conversation, you know. I think that I think he was trolling. I think it's part of his character. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, yes, there are more people that are gravitating towards these philosophical musings, these conversations that are being had, you know, different ways to look at and interpret reality. Very spatial.
I mean, even Jay and Beyonce's their daughter, name is Rumi. Rumi was a philosopher who talks like that. If you ever read any of Rumi's poetry, it's like way out there. It's like some real deep metaphysical stuff, man.
It's deep and it's out there, but it's not Jim Carrey out there. You know what I'm saying? You know, I would have to sit there and self-analyze each one of the lines, and I think that that's part of his comedy, the fact that we would be sitting here self-analyzing each one of those lines.
Well, just in general, like this being introduced to the red carpet into mainstream media, this, you know.
It's a conversation piece. It went viral. You know, it's making a lot of people talk. like I said, he's a very eccentric figure. When he makes appearances, he often lights these red carpets up with these philosophical musings. So this is in line with what Jim Carrey does when he comes out in the public. You know, they say in the world of Hollywood occultism, they say that he's one of the head priests. You know what I'm saying? So he does things like this. You feel me? It's always good to have a multiplicity of conversations in the public as opposed to people just talking about the nonsense that they talk about. We live in the age of Trumpism. You know what I'm saying? So there's no conversations that should be off the table. If he's telling you all of this, alt this and alt that, then what Jim Carrey is doing is just introducing you to another alt dimension in regards to his conversation, saying, look, this is another way, this is an alt reality. We can look at reality this way. And who's to say that you can't? Right? Because that's where we at this particular time. There are no more rules. Everything seems to be out of the window. So, yeah.
I mean, in this new age, when you hear more and more people talking like this and being into this type of information, do you think that signals the end of religion, or religion is just going to evolve and incorporate some of these teachings within it? Or religion, Islam, Christianity, do you think that's going to be, in 100 years, it's just non-existent at that point?
Religion is going through its own interesting tests that it has to, survive. It's going through its own challenges, should I say? You know what I'm saying? That ultimately will change the face of religion. These conversations that are being had around it at the same time, spirituality-wise, again, we're looking at some of the biggest artists in the world. Like Beyonce belongs to a church. They say that she gave donations to her church when she went to Houston to speak to her people. But I don't see these people in church. You know what I'm saying? I don't even look at these people and see Christians. I see them embracing spirituality. You know what I'm saying? I see them doing things that coincide with spirituality. So more and more, because children look at these particular quote-unquote stars as their icons, as the cues in which they should say, well, this is how I want to live my life. You know what I'm saying? I want to do it like this, or I want to do it like that. These are my heroes or my heroines. So they're going to be looking at these people for guidance and for leadership. You know what I'm saying? They're not necessarily going to be looking towards the religious icons. You know what I mean? Like, you even have the Pope. The Pope is like borderline spiritual as opposed to religious.
Wow.
You feel me? Like, he's a new age Pope. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, there is going to be a blending and a melding somewhat of more of a spiritual ethos into the religious doctrines. I believe that there'll be, more of an embracing of the Gnostic scripts. That's probably going to come back into play. And I think that before, in the next 20 or 30 years, there's going to be an uncovering of some more documentation, Christian-wise, that has been buried, that's going to reignite an entirely different conversation about Gnosticism, or about new passages in the Bible, or new claims to be made. There's going to be something that's going to reignite this conversation. It's not going to just burn away. Right. Because, like I said, we live during a time when everything is still steeped in religiosity. When something happens like Irma, they say something of, or something like Harvey, of biblical proportions. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's intertwined with our conversations. What other words do we have for this stuff? Okay? It was raining frogs the other day, and locusts in other parts of the world. You know what I'm saying? I seen stones raining in Turkey. So when things happen that can't be explained, before they go to metaphysics, immediately they go to religion or religiosities. Okay? So there's so much happening right now that speak directly. Like, you can pick a book up and go to a passage and pull a passage out that identifies what's going on. I don't think religion is going anywhere anytime soon, right now, per se. Now, institutions, them shits might have to cripple and fall, but the Bible ain't going nowhere.
In terms of religion, Blue, do you think that if you're the ruler of a country, of a nation, it's better to have, no matter how bad you might, some people might say religion maintains a certain order. But if you got everybody that's into just quote unquote spirituality and metaphysics, it kind of creates more chaos. So do you think we need religion, regardless of whether we agree with it's telling the truth or not, or it's lying about the characters existing and we think that they don't exist? Does that create a certain order in society, Blue Pill?
I mean, religion is a control mechanism. We can see that, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, one of the main things that religion controls is sexual suppression, you know? And of course, we can see how that ends up, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are the, what's the outcome of that, should I say? You know what I'm saying? Or should we say the, I'm looking for a particular word, you know? It becomes convoluted, you know what I'm saying? And you see that in regards to the priests have to take vows to not have sex. Then what do the priests become? They become sexual deviants. Okay? I don't really know about too many nun scandals, so I can't speak on that. I'm sure that y'all can fill it in the comments or what have you. But they say, yeah, the nuns be, you know, biting on one another and stuff like that. So I don't know if that speaks to, again, and some people might be offended to say, oh, you're saying that that's sexual deviancy or what have you. Hey, listen, sexual suppression is always, you know, it's always going to lead to an expression that's perverted, you know what I'm saying? Or this extreme, okay? So you got the Catholic girls, you got girls that go to the Catholic school, and they normally be the ones that be, right, wild for the night. Sexual suppression. So the control that religion exerts on a society, right, or that level of domestication that religion controls on a society, again, I don't think that's going to work leading into what it is that we're calling the quote-unquote Age of Aquarius. Because the Age of Aquarius is dealing with rebellion, right? The Age of Aquarius is dealing with rebellious youth in particular. So I really can't foresee the youth, especially living in these particular days and times, prescribing to any religion that's going to suppress their sexuality. They're very sexually experimentative during these particular times. And I don't see that tide turning, you know what I mean? Now, like I said, I can identify the things that might be happening that can be tied into the book. But like I said, religious institutions per se, I don't foresee them surviving for the next 100 years. So the control aspect that we're speaking about with religion, they're going to lose control, you know what I'm saying? And spirituality still has the ability to replace that per se, but we have to see it fully experimented to say, okay, well, this is what works and that doesn't work. To say that it's not going to work because it would appear as if it only creates chaos, we can't necessarily say that. Because, you know, a witch could be like, look, I respect this system, and, you know, a priest over here could be like, you know what I'm saying, or a priest of this particular spiritual system could be like, I respect the priests of these spiritual systems, right? If we're all getting together and utilizing Mother Nature and respecting Mother Nature, then we don't have no beef. You feel me?
Indeed.
But if religious institutions are not showing any regard for Mother Nature, or they're not holding off these capitalists who are destroying Mother Nature, then yeah, I can't see these religious institutions holding on for too long in regards to control of society as a whole.
Blue, there's a common problem that people are having, that they just become woke, or they just got knowledge of self, or they just became conscious. Oftentimes, there's only a few people in the family that are interested in the type of information that you present to the table. So there may be a family of 15 and 3 of them are interested. Your family is kind of something that's a unique situation where everybody I know is into the information. How would you recommend somebody handling a situation where they're aware of the law of 44, they're aware of metaphysics, they're aware of all this information, but their own mama is still into the church? How should they react to their own parents or their own family being still being a part of the religious organization? Should they argue with them about the information, or should they just let them do what they do and they do what they do?
I never recommend arguing in any situation, but especially when it comes to a difference of opinion or perspective. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you are in somebody's home. Like if that's your nana, you know, or if you growing up under your pops and he's strict and he's in the church and he's a pastor, what have you, and you come into a level of consciousness or enlightenment, you got to respect the home first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? You got to respect that particular institution. All right? And then if you feel that you can no longer be there because of the pressure that's applied, right? Because it might be very religious in that particular environment and you no longer vibrate on that frequency, so it might be very uncomfortable for you. Then you got to remove yourself from that environment, but you're not going to change that environment per se. And the only way that you can go about doing that is by leading by example. There has to be something that's so incredible in regards to your changes, because you know, certain people are the beacons and the light of their family. You know, right? That could be Nana's favorite. You feel me? And he coming home, he got the ankh on, right? And she's asking him what this is about. You have to be able to express yourself in a way in which is transferable to her, to be like, whoa, you know, find out why she got involved with Christianity to begin with. More than likely, she was born into it. You know what I'm saying? Find out what works for her in Christianity. Chances are she's ascribing to Christianity the things that are innate within her own miracle-making abilities, her own spirituality. She's ascribing that to Christianity, okay, and unwilling to let go of it because that's who she is. And she thinks that she is the system. You feel me? So you got to know what it is that's working for you to be able to even think that you're going to come around and replace it. You understand? But more than likely, like I said, the thing that makes people sit up and pay attention and listen to you is when you exemplify the change that you're talking about. And often it's something that you're not even trying to sell. You just start living it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You just start living it, and you make them start asking the questions. Well, what this is about? Mm-hmm. You know? Mm-hmm. This is a different you. What have you been going through? Oh, well, let me tell you. Huh.
Right.
You know what I mean? Uh-huh. And then you start putting on. And then they be like, you got something I can read? That might be the first thing they're going to ask you. You have some literature on that? Right? Because what? They are already predescribed to reading literature to get their spiritual inclinations, to get their directions. And then they want to go to somebody for them to tell them how to live. So that's the next thing they're going to ask you. You got to, you know, can you bring me to the next lecture? You have somebody that I can speak to. You know what I mean? They're going to do things that are in line with the system of indoctrination that they're already indoctrinated in. And then there's other people who they ain't trying to hear it. And you got to be respectful of that. But you also, as a man or woman, you have to lay down the law to say, look, you got to respect my decisions as well. And if they tell you, well, your decisions, you know what I'm saying? You could do what the hell you want. You just can't do it here. You got to be willing to roll with that as well. That's a chance that you have to be willing to take. You know what I'm saying? If your convictions are that strong. Because you're going to be bumping heads with one another, and it's going to create a lot of friction. And at the end of the day, if that's Nana's house, that's Jesus' house. So you got to get up out of there.
I want you to be a therapist for a second real quick, Blue. Okay. There's a sister I know, that a female that is into the church big. Into Jesus big. Can't tell her nothing about Jesus. That's what she's into. Jesus is her Lord and Savior. That's her form of spirituality.
Right.
So she won't talk to men that don't believe Jesus is his Lord and Savior as well.
Hallelujah.
So
right.
she you know, she may meet a lot of good dudes out there, but if he doesn't accept Jesus as his Lord and Savior, she ain't messing with it. There's other situations.
Right.
That's a situation I know of. There's other situations where there's conscious brothers that may know a sister that's a good sister, but she's into the church, but they can't rock with that because she's into the church. What do you recommend people to do? They're lonely, they can't find a good person, but they're not willing to mess with somebody that's not into the same spiritual system
different
as
different denomination, different this.
What would you
that.
say to that, Blue? I mean, that's kind of understandable, right?
To a degree, you know, and the sisters more so than anybody, you know what I mean, are resolute in their decisions to say, look, I ain't dealing with it, you know. They don't really have no wiggle room for that because, truth be told, she's already in a relationship with Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to replace that or cohabitat with him in that relationship. You feel me? So her indoctrination is one in which she's fascinating about a man who live in the sky, but, you know, based on her indoctrination, more than likely he lives in her heart. So it's real personal for her. She ascribes to him all the good in her life. You know what I mean? And you don't want to be the person that comes along because all the bad in her life, she's automatically going to ascribe to you because you're not on the same vibrational frequency as her. So at some point, it's going to hit a head. You know what I'm saying? At some point, it's going to become an issue. And it's going to become a problem. And she's going to be looking for you to convert. You know what I'm saying? Because I really doubt whether she's going to be the one to convert. Again, unless you come into her life and you are such a shining example of goodness that you show her that you walk in that path of Christ on earth, that you could replace that indoctrination. You know what I'm saying? She's willing to let go and hold on to something else that's a flesh. You know, good luck with that. You know what I'm saying? Now for the brothers that's conscious,
Don't want to mess with the church.
and they don't want to mess with shorty from the church or what have you. You know, I mean, it would be bad advice for me to tell people that they could change other people. You know what I'm saying? Because I haven't been able to do it in 40-something years of my life. You know, I can't stand here. I've convinced some people to take some rides with me. You know what I mean? We done torn the road up. You know what I'm saying? We put some miles on the whip. But, you know, at some point they want to get out. You know what I'm saying? Some point they might want to go back. And you got to realize that that's just part of the ride. You know what I mean? So I can't be the one that can honestly tell you that it's all the way possible for you to meet somebody who don't see things as you see them, who's part of an entirely different paradigm, and you're going to flip them. You know what I'm saying? But then there's possibilities. Nothing's impossible. Donald Trump is president. Like, there's no more rules. So, I mean, but may it be a waste of your time? Yes, it might be a waste of your time. May it ultimately be a headache? Yes, it might ultimately be a headache. You know what I'm saying? But if you are that character that is so transformational, okay? It's so transformational that you could go amongst people and, you know, that transformation that you are exuding can, you know, it can attract other people who want to know, well, what's all this about? You know what I'm saying? And then you can start selling yourself. Then you can start selling your story. Then you can start selling your spirituality. And if somebody's willing to make a down payment on it, hey, you might have a buyer.
Last question, Blue. Do you think the internet is doing an injustice by having all of this occult, esoteric, metaphysical information on the internet? available for anybody to read, whether you're 5 years old or whether you're 80 years old? Should it be that this information be kept to a few, like it was when only the secret societies had it? Should this be something that just secret societies have a hold of, or should this information be available to everybody from 5 to 80, 8 to 80?
I mean, again, you've self-identified the fact that we are in the age of Aquarius. So in the age of Aquarius, you know what I'm saying, these are the dictates, that there are no more arcane knowledge, you know what I'm saying? Everything is available, even to the profane. All right? The information highway, all lanes are open. Okay? How one goes about navigating that highway is totally on to them. That's where we're at. That's the flip side of it. Okay? You didn't have access to things before, right? And you had a system that was set up, right, that would probably walk you through. You know what I'm saying? You had a priesthood. You had master teachers. You had all of these things. Now you ain't got none of that, but you got all the information. So what are you going to make of it? It's the flip side. How are you going to navigate that? You know what I'm saying? You know? You the master teacher all of a sudden. You the master student. You're the new student who 3 weeks later is the master student, who 2 months later now you a master teacher, and you 100 YouTube videos deep. You know what I'm saying? And niggas can't tell you nothing. You ready to go to war and all that. You ready to shoot down master teachers and everything. So, because these real-time examples are being set in life.
Yeah.
I'm not even freestyling when I'm saying that. And because that is the template that's going to be set, you feel me? Then many other people are going to come along and they're going to follow that particular template. You know? So they're going to be like, what I need a master teacher for? You know, A, B, and C didn't have one. And look at them. You know, they popping. They up there. They got 300 YouTube videos. So the entire is terraforming what it even means. The whole thing is changing. That's how you could tell that we're really at the cusp of the change, you know, of going into or self-realizing what that age is about. Even though, shout out to my brother Raku, he already told you that shit been popping since the 1400 when they got their hands on gunpowder. But, you know, we're at this point now when our eyes are open to it. We're in the realization of it. You know what I'm saying? You know, so it's a catch-22. You know, like all things in life, nothing's going to be presented on a platinum platter. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be an alchemist in every situation. It's not going to change. But you do have access to an unprecedented amount of information. And it's funny that niggas is now more dumb than ever.
Wow. That's deep. We're going to end on that. Brother, leave your contact information for the people, my brother.
Blue Pillar 44. All right? Paranormal.com. Soul Gold Biz, SOLEGOLDBIZ.com. MyPowerPieces.com. Ocean14corp.com. Download that Know the Ledge app. All right? Apple Store, Androids. Peace.